We continue with the Tartakower variation. In this chapter, I will look at what happens if white just develops the light squared bishop to D3 or E2. Let's see bishop E2. I suggest we take on C4. And I also suggest we take on C4 against bishop D3. That way it's quite easy. It just leads to the same position. But the majority of games after bishop E2 continues with bishop B7. So I'll just show white's idea. Here you can take on F6 and on D5 and change the structure. And a very popular move here is B4. This leads to interesting and quite complicated strategic play. Black is probably okay, but why not skip it if we don't have to look at it? A similar thing can be said about bishop D3. Again, I want to take on C4, but let's see the more normal. Bishop B7, castle, knight Bd7, queen E2, C5. Very natural play by black. This is a complex position. White can choose between many things. The most obvious is probably rook FD1, but also a move like bishop G3, sidestepping the black bishop on E7 is interesting. Black is okay in these lines if he knows what he's doing, but why not make it as easy for ourselves as possible? So we just take here. White takes back, then bishop B7, castle, knight Bd7. Black already has a very harmonious piece constellation and is ready to play C5 with nice play. If white just continues with rook C1, then C5 is the most obvious. White can take it and hope to have a small initiative in this position. We take back with the knight, and then queen E2. White is ready to come with rook FD1, and our queen is not that happy. But here is an important move for black, A6. It covers the B5 square, which is really nice. Later, maybe black can consider playing B5, but to begin with, it's more a prophylactic move to cover the B5 square. White continues with the obvious rook FD1. The queen should go to E8. Here it protects the bishop, which is quite important. At first, this position might look a little scary, because the white rooks are already on the open files, and furthermore, white can kick our knight back with b4. But in fact, there's nothing to worry about. Black's control over the important e4 square solves all the problems. A possible continuation would be something like a3, preparing b4, knight e4, take, knight takes, and the bishops will also come off, queen takes. And I think black has just equalized here. If white plays over-aggressive with knight e5, rook fd8, take, bishop takes a6, it turns out this was not a free pawn, because after rook d2, the table turns. f2 and b2 are loose. After rook c1, c5, white can also go queen e2 instead of taking on c5. Again, I like this important little move. Of course, it was tempting to play knight e4 like this. We do it in the main line after all, but here white has this quite annoying move. Instead of trading the bishops, white plays bishop g3. And here white has some real pressure because we cannot go bishop d6 like in the main line. You will see it in a minute. So after queen e2, we go a6. Black is ready to play b5 if white doesn't prevent it. Let's see, rook d1, b5, bishop b3, rook c8. And black has a good position. All pieces stand really well. There's only one concern for black. What happens if white pushes e4? Fortunately, this move backfires. After b4, suddenly the e-pawn is not that safe anymore. White has to keep pushing. And now we get some exchanges and a completely new structure. White must take. I think taking with the queen is good, because after b takes c3, we can also take here on f3. It's too dangerous for white to take back with the pawn and keep playing with such a bad king's position. So the queens come off also. Knight f6. And black is much better in this ending. Just look at white's pawns. So a6 is a really good move. White should prevent b5 by playing a4. I like the most straightforward way to continue, just take on d4. An important point: if white takes with the e-pawn and accepts an isolated d-pawn, black needs to play some precise moves. The best is knight h5. The idea is to exchange this bishop. It's really important to exchange some pieces quickly to neutralize the pressure. Then the isolated pawn will be a weakness later on. Take, queen takes. Here white can get rid of the pawn by playing d5. That's the drawback of the knight h5 operation. But black is fine. The knight can go to f4. And after queen e3, we protect the knight with queen f6. In this position, white has nothing better than to settle for a draw with a repetition. Knight e4, queen f6, and yeah, you can keep doing it. If you want more with black, then after d5, you can certainly consider to play e5. This looks absolutely playable. Of course, white has a passed pawn on d5, but black has some nice squares on the dark squares. Yeah, this is a position with chances for both sides. So after a6, a4, take. The most positional solution for white is to take back with the knight. I like knight c5 again. Rook fd1 and queen e8. We already know this operation. Bishop g3. White sidesteps before black can try to exchange it. And again, this important move. Black liberates himself with this key move. Here also the queen actually eyes the a4 pawn. So white should take care to keep the balance. A possible continuation would be to take and bishop c7, attacking b6. This leads to further simplifications. Black takes, white can take, and here I like this simple move to get rid of white's bishop. The position is simplified. A6 is a slight weakness, but it's well protected. Also, B2 is just as weak. The position is just equal. So instead of playing rook c1, I think the best for white is to play queen e2. This is the best square, and white is ready to put a rook on d1, which is probably more important than putting it on c1, because you stare down at the black queen and makes it harder for black to liberate himself. Knight e4 is the simplest solution, but actually, if you want to play for more, in a recent game I tried a6, a4, just as we saw, c5, and here my opponent took the a rook to d1. Again, I put the queen here on the best square, we know that already. And rook f to e1. White tries to just improve the position with each move and is ready to play in the center. Here I came up with some quite interesting ideas. Rook a7. Looks strange, but there's a point. With bishop g3, white took with the pawn. This looks strong because the move d5 is really in the air. But now comes queen a8. This was played, just a few months ago. And the position is pretty unclear. I think black is fine. So just remember that in the Queen's Gambit, it's always possible to keep the game going if you need to. But in this theoretical section, I try to play also the best moves, and the simplest move anyway is to go knight e4. If white just takes here, then it's pretty easy for black. These knights will also come off, and black can easily get the desired c5 break with good play. White can try to play this standard move, bishop g3. Of course, you can consider to take the bishop with the knight, but I like this even more. And then knight f6. The knight has this excellent square on e4, and the quick break with c5 is also on the agenda. The best move for white is rook a d1. Then we go knight e4, queen c2, protecting the pawn. And here, let's take it. It seems white has prevented black from playing c5, but it turns out that that's not true. c5. If white takes it, then queen c7 is great for black. White can't grab a pawn because the bishop is hanging. The best try for white is clearly d5. Here we take with the bishop. The critical move is e4. It has never been played though, because black is ready to sacrifice the queen with bishop takes c4, rook takes d8. The computer slightly prefers white, but after best play by both sides, rook d1, bishop b5, an important move, take, queen b3, and then the retreat to e8. Here, black covers all entry points and should be able to look ahead with confidence. I don't see any problems at all. Quite on the contrary, the knight lacks a stable square, and maybe black can even sometimes take over. After all, black has a pawn majority on the queen side, and but objectively speaking, the position is probably just equal. Instead, white could take with the bishop on d5 and go e4, making sure to regain the pawn. But here black can go d4. White will still regain the pawn, but this will be a good version for black. Knight takes. At first it might look good for white. There's some scary knight jumps in the air. But the cool move, queen c8, played by Ponomarev, saves everything. Queen e2, the ending is nothing for white. Rook e8, knight f5, and now just bishop f8. Black has no problems. He even threatens to take on f5, and after queen g4, then g6 is simple and strong. So in this position, I think black has no problems. e4 is also pretty weak, and black should look ahead with confidence. As in many other lines, black has a pawn majority on the queen side. In this case, it's 2 versus 1, and that gives chances to create a passed pawn in the ending, which is a key possibility, and something that could turn the game around in black's favor. Also, the bishop might be stronger than the knight, although it doesn't look like that in this position, but later on. So after knight e4, we should also check if white just takes it. And again, if the dark squared bishops are exchanged on e7, black has easy play, so white can go bishop g3, trying to keep as many pieces on the board as possible. That's a good strategy when you have more space. But in this case, we haven't played c5, and we can exploit that fact. So bishop d6, the bishop is protected by the c-pawn. Now black neutralizes white's strong bishop. If white just goes, let's say rook c1, we can take and play c5 with immediate equality. The most complicated move is knight e5. But after knight takes, pawn takes, white's pawn structure is weakened, and black is fine after bishop c5. Also bishop e7 is good, but bishop c5, rook d1, queen e7. And if white tries to play a6, intending to trap the bishop with b4, we just go a5 and everything is safe. So white can instead try bishop a6. This prevents black from playing a5. But it also loses some time. Rook d8, a3. I think it's simple just to exchange a pair of rooks and then go to e8 with the queen. Now the bishop can safely return if white plays b4, and furthermore the black queen can actually disturb white's queen side quite a lot by suddenly going to a4. In the long run, black's better pawn structure might be a game changer, so this is fine for black for sure. So after bishop d3, bishop d6, white should probably play rook f to d1 to make it as hard as possible for black to get c5 in. Again, we exchange the bishops and put the queen on e7. White can go rook c1, try to improve the position as much as possible. But again, we can do the same. A last preparatory move, now we are ready to play c5. Black can be satisfied with the outcome of the opening. A sample line goes bishop b5, trying to settle us with a weak pawn, but we go c5 anyway. We allowed it because white has to give up the strong bishop to fulfill his plan. Take on d7, take on c5. That was the plan. We take, queen takes, pawn takes. The c-pawn is pretty weak, but there's no way white can exploit it. An active move like queen a4, hitting the bishop, can be answered by queen b7. And now white has nothing better than rook takes c5, and we can take on f3, or here queen takes b2 with a completely equal game. So that was bishop d3 and bishop e2 in the Tartakower. And I think the key idea is just to go d takes c4 no matter what white does. Then you will be absolutely fine positionally speaking. So see you in the next chapter.